Hi, this video is on followership. So I'd like to start by reading out a story from chapter 7 in the textbook, footnote 1. Irving Christopher and Angela Navarro were standing on a cliff looking over out the ocean. It's been a great 2 days, learning about how to be a better leader in today's multicultural, social media crazy workplace. Now the seminar is over and the two middle managers are taking a stroll along the cliff before driving home and returning to their regular work after the weekend. You know, says Christopher, this has been enlightening, but I have such good subordinates that if I decided to jump off this cliff, they would jump with me. Navarro hesitates, then says, I don't know if I'd say they're so good, Irv. If members of my team saw me about to go over a cliff, they would stop me and tell me why I shouldn't do it. Which leader do you say has the best followers? And I found reading that really, really interesting because it's like another perspective on being a follower and what it means to follow. And when we talked about followers in class, footnote 2, the effective follower was a critical and independent thinker, but also was 100% behind the organisation, but had a willingness to add their bit and to be honest and open and would challenge something that they thought was wrong. And I thought that I would like to think that I'm that, but I do find it challenging having to go to someone who's in an authority position and maybe challenge them on an area that I disagree with or could see issues with. More probably fear of rejection or alienation or overstepping my boundaries. I quite like to respect my leaders, and as a boss and a manager myself, I understand how hard it is to lead an organisation and run a business, and so. But at the same time, if one of our employees came to us and said, "Oh, look, I can see this issue," I would like to think we would listen. So I've really looked at my own behaviour and thought, well, I need to push past that fear of rejection and become a bit more vulnerable, I suppose, at being able to share something. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to how you do it rather than because you can say something, but the way you say it will often be the way it's received. So I'm choosing now to work on being able to voice how I feel or think about a certain situation, but also the part of me that has to change is that I'm just also willing, if I'm not heard, and to be okay with that. That's probably the hardest part, is that if you feel like you've come and you've given something and then either you get a reaction of, I don't agree with that, or there's no kind of, oh yeah, I can see that insight. It's more a wall. And I've got to be willing to go, okay, well, I've done my bit and I'll walk away. And it's probably one of the things that Sam said in class, which I've really connected with, is that she is willing to do that, footnote 2, that she is willing to give her opinion, and if it's not received, then she'll okay, and then usually wait to see if the result comes about, and if it does, I suppose that would build respect for her from the leader, if she was right. So yeah, it's been an interesting topic to think about, and probably one of the most challenging ones for me so far. More because I also really want to be a good follower, and I probably in the past would have thought that a good follower is more of a conformist, somebody who just is 100% behind anything that they say, which again, that has its dangers because we see what happens in those kind of situations at times. But my mindset probably would have been more in that conformist area because it is safe. You don't have to challenge anything. You just go along for the ride. You turn up and do the best job you can, and you'll be liked because you're doing whatever anyone tells you. However, as we've seen through looking at the different followers, actually they aren't the most effective because of the fact that they're not necessarily going to bring the ideas and the talent that they have to the table in a way that could be fully utilised. So in the self-assessment, I got 52 for independent and 35 for active. And the independent score showed that I am quite an effective follower, and the active score I was just partly into the conformist category. And I could relate to that and recognise where I'm at. I am still like I said before, I like to be a good follower in situations. Like one of the areas I probably think about for myself would be because I go to a church, and so often they'll set visions and missions of what we're going to do for the month or what we're going to be heading into for the year, and I've got really awesome leaders there, and I am always, because I also lead a group within that. I am always trying to do my best at whatever is put in front of me, and like if I see an area that's lacking, like I'll say, hey, I can see an area is lacking there, but there's still probably a limit on how much I feel that I can say. And so this has really challenged that for me and made me realise that actually to be more effective is actually to be more honest and open and real, but willing also to be rejected. So when I did the test, I could see that there's definitely somewhere to go for myself in the area of becoming a really good follower. Another one of the stories I'd like to read out of the chapter, which, so footnote 3, is this that I read that I really liked. It was, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I thought that was really awesome. I think that it's actually a quote from Nelson Mandela as well, because I've seen it before. But it has its reference to someone else in this book. So, and that's in footnote 3. But I really liked that because, one, it lines up with my values, but also it shows that if you are to be an effective follower, actually it is not shrinking back and pretending you don't know anything or thinking less of yourself and, oh, I don't know anything and this person knows everything. It's actually, being 100% you, but doing that in a way that is respectful and considerate of the other person, not in a high and mighty kind of, I know everything, I know better than you kind of way. Because if you're in that bracket, like, you just don't get received. But as they were talking about in this, it's like, it's not about shrinking back so other people won't feel insecure. It's actually about being 100% who you are. And if I was to think about the kind of follower I would want on my team, well, I'd want someone who was willing to give their all, was willing to be open and honest, because then you're going to understand where they're at all the time, and you kind of, someone who's more transparent, because then at least you know what's going on, whereas people that hide things and are more in that alienated follower or the pragmatic survivor, and even to a point, the passive follower is a little bit like that. But yeah, you can understand how actually to be highly effective, you need to be completely real and honest and 100% you. So that I really could relate that back to how I want to be as a follower, and it kind of helped me think, oh, okay, so that's all I have to be, just be me, but when I come to bring something, do it in an effective and respectful way so that it's received. The passive follower, footnote 1, I can also relate to that because I've had jobs in the past. One was a sales job. To start with, I did really, really well. It was working for a company in Australia. It was actually to do with the Save Mart stores, and I had to get bin sites for them. I was working for a family member. And they donated $100,000 a year to a charity, which I really loved and could get 100% behind. But then one of the employees that I was working with mentioned to me that the boss was actually a little bit dodgy, and that everything that they say and do isn't actually the truth. And that caused me to become a passive follower, but also kind of lose. I lost vision, I lost faith. I'd turn up, but I wouldn't put any extra effort in. I was just there because I'd lost faith in the cause, like I'd lost faith in the role, and I kind of didn't see the point anymore. And so I went from being really, really successful in what I was doing, and I was one of the best salespeople, to just not achieving anything. In the end, I had to leave. So that for me would be an example of when a person becomes passive, is like they've lost their vision for what they're doing. And I probably, if I'm annoyed with something or haven't communicated something properly, could tend to fall back into that place and just think, oh, stuff it, I'm just going to do my own thing and get on with what I have to do and nothing more. I don't like to stay there though. But I can relate to kind of swinging in and out of that at times, and through that job experience, definitely. And that is about all I'm going to say on followership.